Now, the original Craig Anderton modifications called for disassembling the GR-300 and making changes to the circuit board. And I'm going to flip this GR-300 over. I still have the bottom off so you can see what it looks like. So in order to make the original Craig Anderton modifications, you needed to remove the voice board and then make changes here to the underlying primary circuit board. And that's a little complicated, and there's a lot of ways for things to go wrong. To do these modifications, all you need to do is get access to the 24-pin connector. We're going to make all the changes right at the 24-pin connector, so there's no need to disassemble the entire GR-300. Now, the easiest way to get access to the 13-pin connector is to remove the 8 screws across the back that hold this jack plate assembly in place. You remove those 8 screws, and then you can remove the 2 screws that hold the 24-pin connector in place. So this is what the 24-pin connector looks like by itself. Here's the a 24-pin connector that's been removed, and these are the ribbons that are attached to it. And what I did to make these modifications, I actually used an X-Acto knife to make cuts along these connecting points inside of the ribbon connector. So all the modifications were made right here on the ribbon connector, and I didn't actually have to do any modifications on the circuit board. And to make this a little bit clearer, here's what a ribbon looks like if you remove it from the 24-pin connector. And if you look along the ribbon, you'll see there's the edge where it connects to the GR-300 circuit board. There are the solder points here where it connects to the 24-pin connector, and then between the edge and the solder points, you'll see there are 2 open solder points where you can easily solder wires right onto each one of these, and there's a little tracer that conducts electricity from each of these solder points. So to do these modifications, what I did was I cut the connection for the LFO signal, and I cut the connection for the hex fuzz signal. So the hex fuzz signal would arrive at the ribbon right here from the guitar. It would go to this first solder pad, the connection would be cut, and then I would connect to that further solder pad. So where the signal is coming, say, from the guitar to one point on the solder pad, I ran a wire from there to a tip ring sleeve jack. I then took the return from that tip ring sleeve jack and ran it over to the next solder connection point. So all the wiring was actually done on this ribbon connector, and nothing was done on the guitar synthesizer itself. If you decide you want to undo these modifications later, then all you have to do is just simply solder a jumper wire between the 2 solder pads, and you've closed over the break that you made in the ribbon, and it'll work just like it did before. All these connections were done using the Korg or Yamaha control voltage pedal standard, or expression pedal standard, however you want to call it. And these are wired up with the sleeve, of course, is ground. The ring is the output signal. So in this case, if we're plugging it into the hex fuzz jack, the signal that comes from the guitar is present on the ring output, and the tip is the signal that returns back to the synthesizer. So you can see these modification wires come from the 24-pin ribbon. And this little bundle runs along here. I use twist ties to tie it to the existing bundle of wires that are already there for these standard jacks. And then here are the 2 expansion jacks. This is about the only place I could find some nice room to put these, right over here at the end of the synthesizer. Generally speaking, I shrink wrapped all the connections just so nothing could bump into it or cause a potential short. And again, in brief, I took the signal that was coming from the guitar, whether it was the LFO voltage or the hex fuzz sound, and I ran that to the ring connector on this jack. I then put a little jumper between the ring connector to the tip switch, which is a physical connector that when nothing's plugged in closes the circuit to the tip, and then the tip, which is sort of the return part of the circuit, that then runs back to the 24-pin connector and feeds the signal back into the synthesizer. So this basically lets us interrupt the signal flow coming from the guitar, that is the hex fuzz sound and the LFO sound. And here's how this actually works when you hook everything up.